Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. Today, folks, we've got a very exciting episode. We are less than a week away from postseason baseball. We know what this regular season has looked like. Chicago White Sox, for instance, worst team ever. Detroit over there, which is what we're going to start with, everybody. They have also done something historic, but, on a completely other side of things, of the spectrum, in a much more positive light right there. So we're going to break down them, as well as the White Sox, as well as Shohei Ohtani being incredible, and just our general overall thoughts about a lot of these teams walking into October, everybody. So hit that like, smash the subscribe button. Let us know your comments down below about anything that we talk about. Adam, how you doing?
Hungover. I am. If you hear me snotting or coughing, it is because that's what happens apparently when I turn 26 and I drink nowadays after watching football Sunday. So apologies, everybody, if I sound like a piece of butt.
Right. Well, yeah. There you have it, everybody. I mean, that is the way of it. You know, I felt like longer the days where you can get away without any punishment drinking on a Sunday. You know, it's like that's just where we're at right now.
That's where we're at. You know what I mean? Like literally, my actions have consequences now. It's no longer a 19-year-old party city over here. It's like, we gotta suffer the next day. So if you hear me, apologies, but we're still here. We're talking baseball because, man, over the weekend, a lot of great things happened, right? We talked about it on the last podcast. Those Tigers, man, dude. We were glazing them up pretty good. We're like, hey, they got a great run going on here, and they sold at the deadline. Mm-hmm. And now they actually went on the weekend, and they faced the Baltimore Orioles, and they took 2 of 3, and they actually did it, and they stomped on those Orioles when they were down bad, and they did it they did it in a good time because now they are sitting at a wild card spot.
Exactly, yeah. You look over at those standings, everybody, and that American League wild card is not what it looked like a week prior. Minnesota Twins out, Detroit Tigers in. They are right there neck and neck with the Kansas City Royals, occupying that second and that third wildcard spot in the American League. And this is obviously just one hell of a turnaround, right? You're talking about a team that did give away arguably the best starter at the trade deadline in Jack Flaherty. He's been incredible over there on the LA Dodgers, and I look over at the Detroit Tigers, their pitching staff, and I do wonder how the hell they're doing this. Obviously, you have Tariq Skubal, who has been incredible and is very deserving of the Cy Young Award when it does come time for that. He's been phenomenal. Sure. But after that, right, there is a massive drop-off in innings pitched between Tariq Skubal and the next guy on the Baltimore Orioles, right? There was Jack Flaherty there, who had over 100 innings, but he's obviously been gone now for the last 2 months. Then you got Reese Olson right there. You got Kenta Maeda, who's been terrible. Like, just atrociously. He is not turned into the player that I think the Detroit Tigers were hoping for.
Well, I've never been on, Kenta Maeda. Even when it was on the Twins, he had one okay season. After that, everyone kept hyping him up, but I don't know. He's never been a good guy for me.
Well, I mean, you're definitely not this year, right? And he's got over 100 innings for them. So, you look at the guys who are starting these games, and it does blow my mind, the lack of depth here.
And how are they able to do it? Yeah, because the one guy that's actually doing really good. So obviously, not one guy. There's multiple guys. You got Tariq Skubal. The one other guy, Tyler Holton. Tell me why since the All-Star break, this dude has 41 innings pitched with a 0.88 ERA. Huh? Who are you?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Who the hell are you? I almost said Lions fans because my Cardinals just faced the Lions. Yes. I keep getting you guys mixed up. The Tigers fans, who is this man? He's a 28-year-old guy coming out of effing nowhere. He actually played for Arizona in 2022, and then 2023 played for these guys. Had a 2.11 ERA. My goodness, that guy's been carrying the load as well.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Tyler Holton, bro.
No, and I mean, across the board right now, when you look at this Detroit Tigers team, it's other than Tariq Skubal, there's not a whole lot of names that blow you off the page. Yes, Riley Green is very good. I know that Kerry Carpenter since the All-Star break has been incredible.
Oh, he's been awesome, bro.
Right? You have the numbers in front of you?
Yeah, he's got a 1,000 OPS in 100 at-bats, mind you. So it's actually, I guess he was hurt or something like that. But yeah, literally 1,000 OPS. Kerry Carpenter, congratulations. What a great second half. And that's what you need to have the second half, the historic second half that they've had, man.
Yeah, and and that's what I mean. Like, it had to be something like this where guys that aren't the big names are picking up the slack. Shout out to Sarah Langs right here for tweeting this out, saying the Tigers were 10 games back of a postseason spot through 118 games. So factor that, 118 games, that is effectively 3/4 of the way through the MLB season. I don't know the exact math, but something like that, right? They were 10 games back of the postseason, dead in the water. This was after they sold, obviously. 4 teams have made the postseason after being 10-plus games out of a postseason spot after 115 games played. The 2011 Cardinals, the 1964 Cardinals, the 1951 Giants, and then also the 1930 Cardinals. So I don't know why the Cardinals just keep doing this, flirting with danger and getting in. But now it's looking like the Detroit Tigers are going to add themselves to that list. And just to put that in perspective, right, you're talking about 4 teams in the history of MLB ever. The last time, 2011, but the last time before that, it was 1964. So this is fucking effectively unheard of.
You want to hear something crazy? The 2011 Cardinals, guess what they did that year? They won the World Series.
They won the World Series in 2011.
They beat the Texas Rangers in the World Series. So Detroit Tigers fans, I would be excited. I don't know how the hell you're doing it. I literally have no idea because you're taping together a bunch of rookies and Tariq Skubal and a whatever hell pitching staff. But you are the hottest team in baseball, other than another team that we're probably going to talk about a little bit later in the show. You're one of the hottest teams in baseball. You're having one of the best historic stretches of all time. This is your season to go do it. I don't know how. Just ride the magic. It's like the Diamondbacks last year, except they didn't finish. Ride this magic.
Yeah. I mean, again, like we've said it so many times that the team that's hottest walking into the postseason, they always have a good shot, and I do think that that's probably part of the reason why the 2011 Cardinals, I'm not familiar with that team.
That's right.
But, probably why they went all the way, because they were on such a hot stretch in that second half. They put it all together after 3/4 of the season, and really, ultimately, it's just that last quarter of the season that matters. The Detroit Tigers pitching in the last 30 days is ranked 1 in MLB. So, I mean, even though we're looking at these effectively no-name players to us, they are pulling their weight and carrying the load, and the offense is ranked 10th in OPS in the last 30 days. So it's not blowing the top off the baseball, but when you have the number 1 pitching and the number 10 offense, obviously you are now a top 5 team in baseball.
Yeah, would you consider now, I mean, the season's almost over next, so would you consider now that the Tigers have officially broken out of that rebuild that they've been on for God knows how many years?
It is really difficult because we're talking about, a month and a half, right?
Half a season.
of being really, really good. But I do think that, there is a lot of comparisons that can be drawn between this team and that Arizona Diamondbacks team that we saw last season. And obviously now they are, they have taken that next step and they have higher expectations than they did walking into last season. So, I mean, I think that the Detroit Tigers are entering into a new space for sure because, looking at free agency and looking at the offseason and how you attack the offseason is very different if you make postseason compared to if you don't make postseason. And I think that from an ownership standpoint and just from, kind of the way that we look at the Detroit Tigers, I'm going to feel a lot differently about them if they are in that wild card spot, if they finish off this historic comeback than I would had they not been there. Because then at least I know it's like, okay, you know what, you guys can be a postseason team with what you have right now without Jack Flaherty.
I think they can.
Without all of these other players.
Clearly they can. You know what I mean? Clearly they're showing that they can. And, something special always happens at the trade deadline. Like, they sold away Mark Hanna, and they got rid of Mr. Flaherty. But also, they didn't have a lot of Javier Baez. So you're losing a lot of guys that have regular playing time for you, and you kind of change your identity, which also forces some guys step up into roles that they're not used to being in. And now you're seeing what can happen with full playing time with a full squad and having guys like Cole Keith and Kerry Carpenter actually play a full season and get regular playing time in baseball. What could they do for you? So for me, this always feels like a new team after the deadline. And this new Tigers team, yes, I think they can be out of the rebuild very soon. And I think they could approach free agency a lot differently than they did, because the difference between this free agency and the one before, where they signed Javier Baez, they needed Javier Baez to be the guy. They don't need whoever they're adding in on their team to be the dude. You can go get, I've heard of something something like this out there where they're looking at like Alex Bregman to
Right.
come in and play third base, although they got some good third basemen over there. Maybe they get him to come play some third base for the Detroit Tigers, right? Like, sure, why not? He doesn't have to be your guy. He could be a nice complimentary piece to lead this young squad, and it'll be great. I think they're out of the rebuild, man, and I think it's their time to shine.
I mean, I definitely could see that as well. Like, we gotta watch them finish this off because, I mean, I think the worst thing right now, if you're a Tigers fan, like, you finally have hope. You know, there's a little bit of hope right here.
Welcome to hell.
If the Minnesota Twins somehow in the last 5-6 games of the season pull it back and there you drop out, like. That would just be the worst possible thing ever if you're a Tigers fan, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. You got the Twins, 3 games against the Marlins, and 3 games against the ice-cold Orioles. Ooh, what's going on over there in Baltimore? And then you got the Tigers. They've got the Rays 3 games, and they just swept the Blue Jays. I mean, it's easy to sweep the Blue Jays, but they did it. They're basically the same team, and they did it. And then they got 3 games against the White Sox. So that's at least one positive thing there where you can really pick up games. So I am still liking Detroit's chances.
No, I like Detroit's chances a lot too, you know?
But then you also, in this mix, I mean, they're tied with the Royals now.
I know.
The Royals are fumbling hard. They're 2-8 in their last 10. 7-game losing streak. Can you believe it? Like, that's insane. And the Royals don't have a slouch of a schedule. I mean, they got the Nationals for 3 games. They're on the road, mind you. And then they got the Braves on the weekend. And the Braves, like the Royals, haven't confirmed their playoff spot left yet. So they might be playing hard if they're still competing.
Oh, they're definitely going to be playing hard because, you look at the Braves schedule, right? And it's like they're 2 games back of those New York Mets. Now, a lot is going to be decided in the Mets-Braves series.
Oh, that's so good. This is the week.
Yeah, which is going to happen. I think that is actually going to be starting today. I believe, maybe
either today or tomorrow. That's awesome.
Yeah, like it's going to be starting momentarily, so that is going to decide everything. I really hope that series results in like a 2-1 win for the Braves. So then they walk in to that final series, like being with, I don't know what that math would work out to be, but like they'd be within a game effectively.
Within a game, they'd be within a game,
if the Braves did that. And then, of course, it's like, okay, everything matters for the Mets and Atlanta as well. Because if you fumble on the weekend, it's like, okay, you are officially done. So I do hope that's how it kind of turns out, and like they're both still deep in the mix. But yeah, if that is the way that things pan out, then, of course, the Braves are going to be playing very, very hard. And, you got to imagine, like, obviously the Royals, too. Like, they're not safe.
Wow.
They're not safe.
That's actually quite a series, man. Who would have thought that a Kansas City Royals and Atlanta Braves game in the final weekend of the season would actually matter?
Could mean everything for both of
teams.
them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that's got to be...
That's effectively a playoff series.
Like, all the Atlanta series this week are very, very must-watch TV because you got the Atlanta in New York, and then you got Kansas City in Atlanta. So,
massive implications there.
Dude, if I'm a Braves fan, I am stressed this final week.
It's effectively like they just entered into playoffs a week earlier than everyone else, right?
That's
because every game for them is a must-win. Like, I think that, just painting out the math right here. I know we're kind of pivoting off the Tigers, but that's okay. Like we're on the
baseball.
Yeah, we're on the Braves now. Like they got 6 games left, right? So 3 are up against the Mets, 3 are against the Kansas City Royals. Does 4-2 get you in if you're the Braves?
Oh my God, also Arizona's tied for New York, so that there's also a factor of Arizona.
Yes, there is a factor. Like this 4-2, assuming you take 2 off the Mets and 2 off of the.
Well, it all depends on what New York does. I think obviously you give yourself a good opportunity,
right?
But you're also hoping that New York loses 1 or 2 of 3 in their final series, which I don't know who exactly they're facing. I gotta look it up, but that would tie you. So what's the tiebreaker there? I think it's their record head-to-head against the Mets, and I actually don't have their record head-to-head. Let me look this all up.
So 4-2 then is good, but not great. 5-1 is really, like, you'd think that if you go 5-1, you should be good.
Yeah.
If you'd hope so anyways, right? Yeah. Especially if 3 of the W's are against the New York Mets, if that's the case.
Well, and that's huge too, because right now I'm trying to find what their head-to-head record against the Mets are, and that actually this series could also matter more in that sense. Yeah. Where what is your head-to-head record?
And then of course all of this, has the mix of the Arizona Diamondbacks as well, right? Like they are a factor in this as well. So,
Ooh.
Lots of moving parts here.
So they're 5-5. So yes, the winner of this Mets and Atlanta series is also going to have the tiebreaker.
It's going to have the tiebreaker over the other
so
one.
huge.
That's
so huge.
Yeah, so realistic. Okay, so if Atlanta goes 4-2 and the New York Mets, like, I guess, go 2-4,
yeah,
then Atlanta's in. So,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is some good baseball, folks.
Yeah.
Do not turn off your TV.
No, it's again, it is playoffs before the playoffs for a couple of these squads, right? Out of, Detroit, Kansas City, Arizona, New York, and Atlanta. No one is, and Minnesota as well.
Yeah.
All of those teams, nobody is safe, and we don't know what we're doing in October. We don't know if we're going to be on a plane to vacation land, or on a plane to the Wildcard series, right? Like any one of them could make it or not make it.
Yeah, I'll even toss in the Mariners. I was kind of crapping all over them last week, being like, "There's no shot." Hey, I mean, they got the same shot as the Atlanta Braves, kind of, because they're
Pretty
2
much.
games out as well. But
Yeah.
I'm counting them out still. Sorry, Mariners fans.
Well, it is difficult because you got a couple more moving parts in that one. Whereas like the Braves are like the only questionable one in the National League. Whereas you'd also have the Minnesota Twins. So like for Seattle, yes, you're only 2 games back, but you need the Minnesota Twins to fumble, and then also one of Kansas City or Detroit to fumble. Whereas like the Braves, they only need one team to fumble. They need either Arizona or New York to fumble. So it's just like a little bit less of a hard road to get there.
Yeah, there's so many storylines. We picked a couple storylines to talk about in this one, but now that we're going deep into it, damn, like there are effectively 7 teams that are fighting right now for their lives, and there's only 4 spots. 7 teams, 4 spots.
There will be some people that are cut and are very disappointed. You know, and you look at some of these teams for Minnesota. I have to imagine if you miss postseason, this season will be a big disappointment. For Seattle, if you miss postseason, this year will be a big disappointment.
Man.
Whereas, like on the flip side of things, for the Kansas City Royals and or the Detroit Tigers, just being in this conversation, I think means that this is going to be a winning season for you, right? Because both of you guys are going to be above 500. It's literally mathematically impossible for you to be below at this point. So I would already look at that as being 100%. A win. It's like you're playing with house money, whereas over there, with Arizona, New York, or Atlanta, whichever one of you doesn't make it, that's the pits. Every single one of those teams was expected, highly touted to be here. You're paying to be here. Whichever one of you misses, like this is going to be a huge L.
I know we weren't like going to talk about it, but like, damn, like. The Atlanta Braves. Actually, I think we'll talk about it a little bit later, but like just how disappointing it is, man. To be in the spot that they are and they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, and now they got to really show up here in the last week.
This is the I guess this is the difference, right? Atlanta's been so good for so long, but you look at the LA Dodgers. They've been dealing with the same, if not more injuries, but they're still doing it.
But they're paying so much money.
They are paying a lot of money. Granted, Atlanta also pays a lot of money too. They got quite the big payroll over there.
That is true.
But you know what? Injuries are part of it. You're going to get shit luck, right? And it's how you navigate and how you deal with them. LA has done a beautiful job at doing so. The Atlanta Braves, I mean, they've done a pretty good, at the end of the day, they're still going to be above 500. They're still probably going to be, around that 88, 89 wins mark, right? When it's all said and done. That's still a good season.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you do miss postseason, obviously that sucks.
Yeah, it really does suck. We'll talk about some more teams and disappointments and surprises and all that later in this podcast, so stay tuned, everybody. Before we get into that and transition, let's talk about a very disappointing team. Actually, probably the most disappointing team of all time. And actually, I think it's just quite a joke at this point. I think even their own players are kind of laughing about it. I think someone actually came up with a quote on the White Sox and was like, well, what can you do other than laugh at this season, at what it is? They officially got their 120th loss of the season. That ties the record all time for most losses in a season. And like we're talking about, there's still a week left of baseball.
Six games left for them. So I think that they are definitely
they'll break the record.
Going to break the record right there, everybody. You're looking at a 125 loss team if things go according to how they've been going, right? But yeah, it is a joke. I was looking over at the Chicago White Sox Twitter, and whoever runs
so good.
the admin over there is incredible.
It's so good.
Like, it really is.
Have a great laugh. Go on Twitter. Look at it, guys.
Yes, yeah, I got a couple of them up right here on September 21st. This is what the admin over there does instead of posting the score. He goes, final. The number of runs we scored was not greater than the number of runs they scored.
So good.
You know, like, I mean, he does it every time. Where's the other ones right here? But, like, effectively, every single time they look, final can be found on the MLB app. Like, he refuses to post the actual score.
That's hilarious.
And
I mean, I
get
respect it.
You know,
I respect it.
I know, like, and you look at these tweets, like, they have like over 100,000 likes, dude.
Oh,
like,
yeah, of course.
Millions of people are looking at them. So, like, you know, credit to the Chicago White Sox social media team and the Twitter guy over there for trying to make light of what has been a terrible situation.
You have to.
Well, there comes a point where you just can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, imagine if the Blue Jays were that bad. Like, at that point, like, sure, we've suffered this season because our expectation was playoffs, and then we've missed it by a lot. So, like, for us, it hurts a lot more. But for them, it's like you already were bad. Now you're so bad, you just gotta joke.
You gotta steer into the skid.
You gotta steer into the skid.
You know, it's just there's no reason to ignore it at this point, right? Like, it's actually you can't ignore it. You know,
you have to.
I think the worst part about all of this, though, and now we're at this point of the season where we can actively look at stuff like this. The Chicago White Sox, they're not even going to get any positive anything out of this, right? You'd think, okay, well, if I get 123 or 4 losses, well, at the very least, I'm going to get that first overall selection. I can go out and I can draft.
Or at least have a good great odds.
Sure,
to get it,
have a really damn good chance. You know, I should at the very least be like a top 3 pick, you know.
Absolutely.
Just statistically speaking. That's not going to be the case at all, guys. Like, the Chicago White Sox, and this is stuff that I don't fully understand, but it's because they've been so bad for so long that they're actually not eligible to get the first overall selection.
Someone explain that. Like,
which is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, because
like,
it's them in the Oakland Athletics. Where it's like, you guys suck so bad. Like, how does that make any sense? You guys suck so bad. It's like, is it like an anti-tank thing?
I think so. But it's like,
why?
What?
But that's not helping us.
No, that's not doing it. Like, that means that they're just gonna keep.
They're gonna keep losing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're never gonna be able to get out of this hell, right? Because, again, at the very least, if you're a Chicago White Sox fan, you could hold on to the prospect of, like, okay, well, you know what, Ethan Holiday in White Sox uniform, that's gonna look good. We can build off of that. That's not happening.
No,
and
no.
You're not going to get anyone that's really good, man. It's just going to continue to be terrible. So I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. At this point, though, I really hope that you guys can set a high bar.
I agree.
Of the 125, 126 losses, and hold the record for probably several decades at the very least.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to play a game with you, Nick. I want to play a game called Can You Recognize That Chicago White Sox? It's a very creative name, okay? I'm going to go through their lineup in the last few days and some of their starting pitchers, and you're going to tell me if you can recognize that Chicago White Sox. Their starting pitcher yesterday, Sean Burke. You recognize that name?
Never heard
of
that.
0 for 1. 0 for 1. Their starting lineup is Miguel Vargas.
Oh, yeah.
We recognize that White Sox.
Yeah.
Louis Robert Jr.
Yes, absolutely.
We recognize that White Sox. Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah, I know him.
Okay, you know what? This actually might be a lot better. Andrew Vaughn.
Know him? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Gavin Sheets.
Yes.
Okay, we're cooking.
That's 5 out of
We got 5. Top 5, we know. Leanne Sosa.
Starting to fall off for me. I feel like I've heard the name, but I'm not super familiar.
Okay. Then we've got, I got to actually click and expand this guy's name. Brian Ramos?
Brian Ramos.
Okay, no. Corey Lee?
Can't say I'm familiar with his game.
Okay. We also got a Jacob Amaya.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not Jacob Amaya.
Okay. We got 2 more here. Zach DeLoach.
No.
All right, 1 more. We got a Chucky Robinson.
Chucky
Robinson. That's a sick name.
Chucky
actually.
Robinson. Okay.
29-year-old Chucky Robinson. Who is this? No, he played once in 2022, 25 games and batted 136. This year, though, improvement. 2024 batted 148.
Wow,
Chucky Robinson.
I mean, clearly, guys, I gotta get better at my job, at my craft. Like, for me not to recognize Chucky Robinson. Wow,
don't respect that game.
Yeah, for real.
And then final game. How many White Sox in the entire season have batted over 700 OPS? How many?
Like just a
number.
Overall guess.
Overall season-long numbers.
I'll
How many White
go
Sox?
with 3.
Wrong answer. 1.
One of them, eh?
And can you guess what that OPS is? Just random guess. Pull it out of a hat.
712.
Very close. 707.
Jesus.
It's Andrew Vaughn with a 707 leads you.
That's so terrible, man. I was looking by month actually, just to see like what their hitting has been by month.
Yeah.
The Chicago White Sox, their best month this year, I think it was June. They had a batting average of 229. That's like the highest team batting average in a month that they've had all year long. They've never been over 230.
In June. They cooked in June.
Yeah, right. 229 batting average. Let me just double check for you that it was in fact June. But yeah, like 229 batting average. They've never done better than that in the entirety of the season.
So sad.
It really is. Like when you just think about that, like that's terrible. Their OPS that month was 666. That's the best that they've done.
Oh my god.
They were getting on base less than 300 or 30% of the time, but still the best month that they've had. You know.
Well, it is very sad. You know.
229.
You know, I was about to make fun of them some more. You know, I felt a little bad. I was about to make fun of like they're, you know, the lowest OPS qualified player that they have. They only have 3 qualified players though. Actually, they've just been cycling through them.
Yeah,
giving everybody a chance.
That's the thing, like right. This whole season's been audition season for the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, and the lowest guy is Gavin Sheets, but I can't even make fun of that because he's got a 671 and like. You know, George Springer has a lower one than that. So,
right.
You know, that's where I'm going to stop making fun of them. You know, it is what it is. You know, have fun, guys. Chicago White Sox. Make fun of yourselves, you know.
Also, too, though, I mean, like, clearly the players over there are not very good.
No.
However, I do think that there is just a complete and utter sickness and cancer in that clubhouse, in that building, in that management, right? Like,
it's gotta be stripped down.
Yeah, I mean, like you're legitimately at a place right now where your Twitter team is making fun of you.
Yep.
Like it's like no one in your organization even thinks that you're serious.
It actually is quite remarkable how you lose that many games. You know, it's like you actually have to be a single A ball team, which is what they are.
Like you don't genuinely, you do not deserve to. Like you should be relegated.
Yeah,
yes, it's like you are at best maybe a AAA team. I do wonder if you took the Chicago White Sox team, as it is today, right now, with their 120 losses, if you took them and you put them in AAA, you made them play a full season in AAA ball against all the other AAA teams, how many wins do they end up with? Are they a top team?
Do they win the playoffs?
Do they even make the fucking playoffs in AAA?
I think guys like Louis Robert Jr. or Louis Robert Jr. I feel like he could do good in the minor leagues.
Well, you would think, right? These are MLB players, so even though they're not doing very well in the MLB, you would imagine that it's like, okay, well they gotta cook in AAA, but would they?
I mean, the rest of the lineup, I feel like that's a step up for them. You know, I want to know, and I really wish I did more research on this, but I really want to know where their starting lineup started the year. Like what level of part of their minor league system did they start?
Every single player.
Where did they begin and how'd they get here and why? They're probably confused. You know, actually, they're probably excited to be here. Honestly, if I was a minor league player in a White Sox system, I got a great chance.
Oh, you got
to make some money.
Chance. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, that's all it comes down to. You know, we're gonna go up there. We're gonna swing a couple times. We're gonna make $1 million, which
I'm
is
gonna
be
look bad, but
phenomenal.
I'll be rich.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be good.
You know, you're gonna be set, right? You are an MLB player. You know, you're living your dream as a baseball player, and that's all you can ask for, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to go back to how terrible they are, I do wonder if you took the best team from AAA, right? If we think about it the other way,
right?
If you took the best team from AAA, I'm not sure who they are.
The Buffalo Bisons.
Sure, I don't know if that's true or not at this point, but
yeah, not anymore probably.
But whoever the best team in AAA is, you take that squad. Every single player that's on their roster right now, you take them, you put them in the MLB. Do they win more games than the Chicago White Sox have? You got 36 wins. Can they get 37 wins?
I think we need a 7-game series between the winner, the AAA team that wins the playoffs in their minor league playoffs, versus the Chicago White Sox today.
Yes.
I think we need our own postseason of just that for pure entertainment.
And
it's like,
if the White Sox lose, you get fucking relegated.
Yo, we actually seriously, we actually need Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
That's the team versus the Chicago White Sox.
Just
straight up.
Two jokes.
Two jokes in one.
One of
stadium.
them is playing into it. The other one's trying to fight against it.
Yeah,
But,
I seriously think that'd be pure. Dude, that would sell out.
Oh, of course
that'd
it
be
would
pure
sell out. Yeah,
entertainment.
that'd probably be the only time that the Chicago White Sox would have a sellout this season. I would imagine.
Yeah.
If that
Savannah Bananas sell out every single time.
Oh, I know.
They're
yeah.
amazing.
And
I want to go watch.
And this would be like pure like viral content.
Yeah.
People would tune into this.
Yeah.
I would fucking watch that.
Oh, dude, I'm flying to Chicago. I'm assuming they'd host it in Chicago because they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Well, I'm also assuming that they would stream that thing too.
They would.
The viewership on
oh
that would be great,
my god, that'd be
I'd
hilarious.
tune into that absolutely.
They got it. Do they? I wonder if they. Someone let me know if they stream.
I mean, if you're gonna,
I'd love that.
really play into the fact that you are legitimately the worst team ever, right? You might as well monetize it.
Absolutely.
Might as well find a way.
You got to sign, rookies, and you gotta go make free agent acquisitions
Sure.
somehow. We're not making money during the regular season with our 2 fans. We got to go make some money.
We're the worst team ever. Let's own it.
Let's put on clown noses.
Yeah.
And stroll out to the field and be a clown show.
Or get some merchandise out there with your record on it.
Yeah, with the record 2024. That's
Yeah.
genius, actually.
I don't know. You can own that, right?
Hit us up, Chicago White Sox marketing team.
Right.
We can monetize this. We got ideas.
And also, I said this in the previous podcast, and I know that there's been pushback on it, but if you guys continue to be this bad, Montreal needs a baseball team. Vancouver needs a baseball team. There are other cities around here that I'm sure would appreciate a baseball team, considering you guys already have the Chicago Cubs in Chicago. You don't need 2 of them.
Yeah, I was looking at that the other day. I was like, wow, man, it's all these teams with 2 cities.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on.
No one's even going to this fucking garbage franchise anyways. You are thinking you guys are a joke. You know that you're a joke. You already have a team. If you were the only team in Chicago, I'd be like, okay, well, you got to hold on to it.
Yeah, of course.
Chicago's a big city.
Yeah,
but you have another one.
Yeah.
Take this horrible franchise who, at this point, it's like, whatever. Fucking put them in Montreal.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I thought about this totally, same topic, but different city. Imagine if you combined, you just had one New York team. The amount of money you would have they already have a lot of money, but you would literally have Juan Soto's up and down the lineup. It'd be that insane. Let's just put it all together. Let's pool it and make a mega team, and then relegate the other New York Mets to somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know how that would all work, but if you just went if you just took the best players from the Mets and the best players from the Yankees and just boom on one team,
Lindor,
you
Judge,
are
Soto,
winning the World Series.
Alonso, that would be nasty.
That's you will win the World Series.
Oh, the World Series is all yours.
It's going to happen, type thing, right?
Make it happen, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I
thought about that the other day too.
Don't make it happen, honestly.
Oh, actually,
yeah, that'd be
terrible.
I mean, it'd be the worst thing ever, man.
What do I say? This is just in fantasy land.
Yeah.
In fantasy land, it'd be interesting for one season to watch how many games they win, which would be, probably the opposite of the Chicago White Sox record. Yeah.
But, after that, it'd be like, all right, let's go back to normal, please.
Dude, they would absolutely have the best team in baseball because I was like, oh, what about L.A.? Ooh, actually, no, because the L.A. Angels wouldn't even make the L.A. Dodgers.
Dude, you'd have a one injured Mike Trout.
Yeah.
And that's the only guy that you're taking, pretty much.
Maybe Kevin Pillar. They need some center field help.
Maybe.
And then he's going to retire next year.
Maybe. It's like you take, literally, most of, honestly, that would probably hurt them.
Yeah,
because LA would then just have to take on all these ridiculous contracts, and they don't want to do that.
Rendon? Oh my goodness, no, thank you. So
speaking about crazy contracts though, and everything like that, and the LA Dodgers as a whole, we would be remiss if we didn't at least bring up Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani has had, I think, maybe the greatest 4-game stretch that I have ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
The last 4 games from Shohei Ohtani will blow your goddamn mind. 4 games ago, we didn't know if he was gonna hit 50-50. 4 games ago, that was still a question.
Yeah.
Was he gonna be a 50-50 guy? Was he gonna create that club? Now, 4 games later, he has 53 bombs, 55 stolen bases. We are talking about the craziest 4-game stretch that I have ever seen.
Yeah, literally, when we made our last podcast on the Thursday, it was 48 and 49. We're like, he's
probably gonna just sneak in there.
Yeah, he's got 10 games left, 2 home runs. That's he's on pace for it, I guess. And then he just blows it out of the water like that Thursday game. And you made a short on it. You've been talking about it, and I agree. That has to be one of the best, if not the best, baseball performance I have ever seen from a position player. Like, people talk about cycles, and cycles, I've always thought cycles are cute. Like, great, 4 for 4. Like, obviously great performance. You hit the cycle. Woo.
Like, you had an incredible
game. Absolutely. But when you go 6 for 6 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, you have 17 total bases. Fuck the cycle. Give me an Ohtani. That's what that should be. If you could hit 17 total bases, you have hit an Ohtani. That's his number on his back. You've had an Ohtani.
Yeah.
That would be remarkable. And then you also steal. He had what?
Two bases.
2 stolen bases. You just had an Ohtani. Congratulations.
Listen to, okay, so I love that. I love that we can claim that now.
Yeah.
We're going to call it the Ohtani, everybody. If you just have the greatest game of all time,
the Ohtani.
You'll be the Ohtani, right? You look at the last 4 games from Shohei Ohtani, 18 at-bats, 14 hits. That's the last 4 games. 14 for 18 is his last 4 games. That's a batting average of 778.
Yeah.
So almost 800. In that 4-game stretch, he has 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, 6 stolen bases.
Wow.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I just, it blows my mind. You're getting on base 80% of the time.
Yeah.
This guy is going to fucking win the World Series solo.
I really hope to God he wins the World Series, man. I really hope to God. Ohtani, should we just rename the MVP award to the Ohtani?
It's ridiculous.
I'm serious. Like, this guy, look, it's not over yet. The story's not finished, but Ohtani has the attention of even GOATs around the world. Like LeBron is tweeting about that amazing game. I think you had Tom Brady even came out on video saying, congratulations, Ohtani, on 50-50. Like, again, the reason why I bring it up is, like, all these GOATs is because Ohtani is on his way to being the GOAT of baseball. Mm-hmm. The GOAT of baseball.
The
other
and the story's
GOATs
not
are
recognizing.
Finished.
No, I know.
The GOATs are recognizing the GOAT.
Dude, I saw some people right after that game, and they were, tweeting this out and talking about it and being like, wow, well, again, there's still games to go. Like, could it be the 60-60 club? I was like, okay,
guys,
yeah,
chill.
But
actually,
it's
actually not that far off.
If he just keeps up the pace that he's done in the last 4 games, he will do it.
6 more games, right? 5 stolen bases. Okay,
you've done that.
7
in less.
homers.
7
that's
homers.
gonna be really tough, actually.
Okay, I know it's going to be really tough,
That's
but again,
really tough.
in the last 4 games,
he's got to have another
would
Ohtani.
be on pace.
He's got to have another Ohtani.
Yeah, well, he's doing
You know
it.
what I mean? The game. He's got to have another Ohtani.
I know that, man. The last game, it was on September 22nd. That's the last game he played. He went 4 for 5, got 1 homer, and 2 stolen bases. Mm-hmm. So not quite an Ohtani.
Not quite an Ohtani.
But, still pretty fucking good.
Well, at least he could probably do, like, maybe like a 55-60. That'd be pretty elite. That'd be pretty good.
That would be pretty elite, man. Either way, like, he's clearly setting a record that, maybe one day it gets broken, but, like, it's going to take something really special to touch this, I think.
I really think around baseball, there's not a lot of players that can do it. Like Acuna when healthy.
I think, like, you're looking at a small handful of guys, because the thing is, it's like, okay, yes, I can now with the new base running rules and stuff. I could see somebody, still going to be a lot, but I could see somebody ending up with 55 or 60 stolen bases. We saw
Ellie's done it.
Exactly, Ellie and Acuna, right? It's like that could happen. Probably you'll get like 1 or 2 guys a year, like, in that conversation.
Yeah.
And of course, again, extremely difficult, but I could see guys having, 54, 55 home runs.
For sure.
The difference, though, is putting them into one player, right?
Yeah.
Having the Pete Alonso power,
right,
with the 50-plus bombs, and then the Ellie De La Cruz speed.
Well, that's why the whole, like, stolen base and homer stat that everyone always talks about as being a great benchmark. It's like the all-round great player. You did with your bat and you did with your legs. And what's crazy is like those two stats counteract each other too. So like you got to get on base to steal, and when you hit a homer, you can't steal anymore. So they counteract each other. You can't do both of them at the same time. That's what even makes it even a better stat, right?
That's true, yeah. Because 54. So Ohtani's got 184 hits. 53 of those hits were home runs, so he could never steal a base in there, which means that, doing the math right there, that means there's about 130 hits remaining,
right?
And he's got 55 stolen bases
and the walks, 78 walks.
True, you know what? I wasn't counting the walks right there, but about a third of the time that he gets on base, he is going to steal.
Yeah,
he is going to steal.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT. Ohtani is the GOAT, and it's solidified. And now we have an official term for when you have 17 total bases. It matches the number on his back. You will have an Ohtani.
It's the Ohtani, baby. It's the Ohtani. Go far in the playoffs and keep putting up Ohtanis, man. I am excited to watch it happen.
Let's move on, guys, and let's talk about some teams that were some disappointing teams and some very incredible teams. There's a last power ranking that came out from MLB.com. And, I mean, we're going to read it off and react to some teams here. You tell me some teams that, you really think are deserving to be here, maybe some that don't deserve to be here, blah, 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 whatever you think. And then, we'll talk about it. Dodgers at number 1. They were number 2 last week. They're back at number 1, I think, because Ohtani had an Ohtani. I think they're rightfully so. They're on top of the world.
I mean, if somebody's Ohtaniing, you just got to put them at number 1.
They're number 1. Whenever someone has an Ohtani, automatic number 1 power ranking.
Pretty much.
Unless
you're the White Sox.
Unless you're the White
Sox.
Sox.
An Ohtani.
Then they'll never. Dude, they will never have an Ohtani.
Well, I don't think anyone. I'll be honest, man. I don't know how many teams are going to ever have an Ohtani.
So that's why he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Phillies, they dropped down to 2. Seems right after the Ohtani just Otani'd. Yankees at 3. They've been kind of there all season. They've been kind of doing very good, ramping up for the postseason. Guardians at 4. Would you look at that?
That's nice for the Guardians. Yeah, it really is nice for the Cleveland Guardians, right? It's like they were. You look at. I love how MLB does this with their power rankings. They have the season high and then the season low, and you look at the Guardians. And at one point, they were, in the power rankings number 2, which is probably fair. They've been really a very, very good team for a long time. But at one point in this season, they were the 21st ranked, team in the power rankings.
I imagine that's probably right out of the gate.
Probably early on and whatnot. But it just goes to show the expectations that were had for these Cleveland Guardians walking into the year, right? I think the fact that, you are up there of upwards of 90 wins. This is a massive, massive win for you guys to walk away with the division, to make the postseason. Cleveland Guardians are one of those teams that just consistently get slept on because they don't go out and because they don't make the big splashes and get the Ohtanis. But top to bottom, they're a very solid squad. Shout out to the Canadian boy, Josh Naylor, 30 bombs, 100 RBIs. What a season.
Represent.
What a kid. He's going to be a free agent, not after this season, but after next season. And if he does what he did this year again, that's going to be some fat money.
He's getting paid, right? Everyone's got to recognize greatness. Come back to Toronto, Josh.
Oh, I love it.
Come back to Toronto.
I love it, man. Speaking of the Toronto Blue Jays, that was a team that I did want to highlight quickly on this power rankings.
How far down are they?
Toronto Blue Jays, 23 in the power rankings, which honestly could be kind of generous just with the state of play over there from the Blue Jays bullpen and from others. They had a season high of 8 and a season low of 25, so they have been, up and down all year long. But they are obviously one of the biggest disappointments just when you look at that payroll to where we are right now. I think that, I don't know if this is true, but probably the biggest discrepancy from all the teams in terms of payroll to where you are in terms of the standings and the power rankings would be the Toronto Blue Jays. So just a horrendous year overall.
I mean, literally in MLB.com, the first sentence is right here when describing the Toronto Blue Jays is, so that was a bit of a disaster.
Yeah. They go on to say the wheels fell off for the Blue Jays in 2023 to the point that many wondered at the trade deadline if they'd not only punt 23, but also 24.
I think they messed up there. I think they're meaning 2024. And then punt 2024 and 2025. I think they messed up a little bit.
Yeah, I do agree with you because the wheels There was signs the wheels were going to fall off in 2023.
Yeah.
But they didn't truly fall off until this year. And then, okay, there are no wheels.
Yeah.
The wagon's not moving at all.
We got to rebuild the whole roster,
It's a stagnant wagon at this point. But, they're probably talking about us punting 2025, which the Toronto Blue Jays have decided not to do. Whether that was a good decision or a bad decision, we will have to wait and see.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. But either way, right now, terrible organization. Texas Rangers, too, right there next to the Toronto Blue Jays. Speaking of payroll discrepancies, they are another one of them. Now, I don't look at it as bad of the Rangers just because they did win the World Series last year, and you do have that banner hanging up. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm still chill.
I'm chilling.
It's fine.
It's all good.
We're good. Like, in my opinion, we're good for a couple of years just because we have that banner. But obviously, you would have hoped for a bit more.
Yeah, and they didn't really go and do anything crazy this free agency. So this time around, I think they're gonna go right back at it. And speaking of probably most disappointing. Other than the banner, you could probably include being oh well, they won the World Series, so it wasn't that disappointing. But still, season high of 4 coming in this year, probably that's where they were because they won the World Series, and then it's all the way to 20, a low of 23. They end up at 22. So I mean, that's obviously the biggest drop off right there. I think of any team that was in this power rankings.
Probably,
it is because everybody else kind of expected the big drop off of the White Sox, 28-30. Oh no, but yeah. So. For me, that one has got to be up there. Blue Jays and Rangers, the most disappointing teams in baseball this season.
I think that we can coin that as being the case. They were terrible. I thought the Mets were going to join us, but Grimace had other things to say, man. He really did. I also thought this team might join us as one of the most disappointing franchises this year, but they have really turned things around. The San Diego Padres are arguably the hottest team in baseball right now, today, walking in to the postseason. They are only a couple games back of those LA Dodgers for the division lead. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to win that division or anything like that, but it feels good when you are in spitting distance of the LA Dodgers when Ohtani is, in fact, Ohtani-ing. These Padres, this was one of the few years that I think we walked in with limited expectations of the San Diego Padres because you didn't have Juan Soto. And as this article suggests right here, after slashing nearly $90 million in payroll, the Padres have basically clinched a playoff spot. So, it's not always the big spender that's going to walk away with the most wins. The Padres are showing right now that rather than going out and buying everything like they did in the past, I feel like they're becoming more of a cohesive unit, more of a team. Because previously you had all this star power, but it just felt like it wasn't really gelling, connecting.
Yeah, there's no identity. In
now,
my opinion,
it feels like there is.
Yeah, because I think they did the retool the right way. Obviously, the results will prove that point.
Speak for themselves. Yeah,
exactly right. But I think they did it the right way. And I think looking at their team roster right now, looking at the guys who have been doing it,
it's pretty nice, dude.
It's nice, dude. I mean, obviously, Manny Machado, he's the identity of that Padres team. When they signed him, that was. We're changing the identity of this franchise. We're going to stop sucking, and we're going to start competing. I remember when they signed Machado, I was like, the Padres, huh?
Yeah.
They were a nothing team. Now, he's the core. And then you got Jackson Merrill coming up, and he's been the, in my opinion, it's so close. I got to dive into the numbers again, but he, Rookie of the Year, all year long. He deserves it. Absolutely.
It's really close, man. I know Paul Skeens actually just had an incredible outing.
Yeah.
I think his ERA is it's 2.07.
See,
it's crazy good.
That's the thing. Both of them deserve it, and that's why I don't want to get into the details of comparing this guy. So they both deserve it. It's like comparing apples to oranges. They're different players doing great stuff.
You should assuredly get a lot of votes, and if you don't win it, you still had an incredible year. He was amazing. Profar for me is a wild ride.
Great.
You know
what I mean? And honestly, Profar helped them bring them here.
Oh my God!
You needed a guy like Profar that's getting paid $1 million.
Is that actually his contract?
Literally $1 million.
Oh my
the best
goodness.
$1 million contract in MLB this year.
I think that could be the best $1 million contract in history.
Other than rookie contracts.
Yes,
free agent signing
I'm
contract.
talking, free agent signing. Because I don't know. Maybe there was some other one-year contracts that just went nuclear. But
forget inflation. Like comparing it to the inflation. Because imagine $1 million like back in the 70s.
No, I'm talking $1 million right now for a guy who's batting .285 with an OPS of .854. Jurickson Profar has 90 runs scored, 85 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, 24 home runs. This is a staple in this San Diego Padres lineup.
Happen?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I still don't know. And earlier in the year when I was like gassing him up, I was like, in my back of my mind, I'm like, this guy's going to fall off. Though.
Oh my God. Is this true? Dude, he has the highest on-base percentage in the National League.
385?
385.
How's that possible?
That's bolded. It's bolded on Baseball Reference.
Ohtani is 383.
Jurickson Profar has the highest on-base percentage in the National League. That is insane to me.
That's insane. Well, congrats, man. And then they got Tatis back. So that's huge.
Who is also doing phenomenal work right over there. Yeah,
insane.
I think the lineup,
that's their team.
Like the lineup for me of these San Diego Padres is just like really solid top to bottom. Really solid top to bottom. And I think that's enough, man. When you have guys like Dylan Cease, for instance, who's still cooking, and Michael King over there is doing really nicely. Like, I think that they have enough stuff right here with the way that the team is performing to go on a bit of a run.
Yeah, and remember the big question for them earlier this season is like, where are they going to find all these innings? You know what I mean? Remember, and in the offseason, I meant like, they have so many holes.
That was the big question.
Where are they going to get these innings? Right? Dylan Cease was a great acquisition.
What a good one.
What
right
acquisition.
there, yeah.
Michael King in the Juan Soto deal. Michael King is great. He leads the team in for starting pitchers in ERA.
Exactly. Like that. I think Michael King might be one of the more underrated guys. Like we got to talk a bit more about what Michael King has done this year. He's got 168.2 innings pitched, just shy of 200 strikeouts at 198. Yeah. Like this is a machine right now. He is eating people up right now.
We thought he'd do it. We watched him over on the Yankees. We thought he was going to do it.
Yeah.
And clearly he's still doing it.
Now he fully is, man. I own Michael King in fantasy, and this guy is never disappointed all year long. Like just been solid top to bottom. And like you always look at squads that are, like we said, getting hot at the right time.
Right.
The San Diego Padres for me are one of those teams that seem to be cooking, but also like have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. It's almost like because they slashed all this money and because we had so many questions around them in the offseason that they are out here to prove something. That yes, maybe the Dodgers are a top dog, but we're not that far removed from the LA Dodgers and Ohtani-ing. We can do this. I do think that this team is going to be a big threat in the postseason.
All right, to end this podcast off, let's give our putting you on the spot right here, top 5 teams that you like in the playoffs. Top 5 teams that you have with the best chances to win it all.
Well, it's going to be a little boring, but I am going to put the New York Yankees up there now. I'm going to put the Houston Astros up there as well, just because Houston is always like they just do it every single time. I'd be remiss to be leaving out the Dodgers and also the Phillies as well. So like I gotta go with some of the top dogs right there.
And who's the final one?
The final one, like I think the Padres might be it for me, man.
I'm with you.
Like I think the Padres might go crazy and be that squad that's just a little scary you don't want to run into. Alternatively, maybe the Detroit Tigers, just because they are going nuts right now.
See, that's the thing. I wanted to see if you were going to pick the Tigers or the Padres, since we've been talking about this entire episode.
Ultimately, the Tigers. Like, yes, I think that you can make an argument for it.
2011,
I know,
the St. Louis Cardinals.
I know. Listen, I'm saying there could be a certain argument for it. However, just top to bottom, I think I like the Padres roster. I believe in it more.
You don't believe in Tyreek Skubal, Cy Young, and Kerry Carpenter?
I do, man. I absolutely do. But I think I believe in Jackson Merrill and Dylan Cease just a bit more.
A bit more proven guys, a little bit more track records who have been to the postseason before. I like those guys better. So I'm with you. But then, honestly, I would put at number 2. I mean, I don't want to sleep on the Mets at all, but like, number 2, probably the Detroit Tigers, just because of the history.
It's going to be a really fun postseason to watch because you look at, again, we talked about this in previous podcasts, but there is no team that's going to hit 100 wins. No team is going to hit 100 wins. The difference between the best squad and the last one sneaking in, who maybe are the Detroit Tigers, maybe it's the Atlanta Braves, I'm not sure. But it feels like the difference between the top dog and like who would be considered a bottom feeder in the playoffs is not that significant in my opinion. I think that all these teams have claims, right? And we went through that whole list. We didn't even bring up the Cleveland Guardians, right?
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Yeah, we barely touched on the New York Mets right there. Right. The Arizona Diamondbacks, they've obviously got magic in a bottle.
Yep.
We watched it last year, right? So there are other teams in here that I could totally buy into them going all the way.
I mean, just look at what the Tigers did against the Orioles. They just beat them in a 3-game series.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Honestly, the one squad that I think I'm off right now is the Baltimore
I think
Orioles.
that's my least favorite team, not
just
gonna lie.
Because, like, again, I can't explain why, but all of a sudden, we don't know how to play baseball anymore.
The pressure. That's like the only thing I can point to. The pressure is too much.
Either the pressure or there's fatigue or something, maybe. But, like, fuck, get
tired
over
of being,
it, boys.
Yeah, we're too tired of being elite.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Get over it, guys. Like, I know you're tired. I know it's long. But, look, if you wanna assert yourselves as being a top dog in the American League, you gotta get a bit of energy now.
It's
come alive.
It's past Jackson Holiday's bedtime. He's got to go home.
He was dressed up in Peter Pan stuff the other day. It was like,
really?
Yeah, like so they make all the rookies like dress up as
that's cool. I like that.
Doing stuff. So I think actually the Blue Jays, they were all dressed up in penguin costumes.
Cute.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
That's cute.
Whereas like for the Baltimore Orioles, it was like Peter Pan stuff. So like somebody was Peter Pan, somebody was like the fairy.
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell.
Who's
Yeah.
Tinkerbell? Do you see?
I forget. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember what Jackson
Colton
Holiday
Cows
was
or something.
either,
Like both some rookies.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They all had to dress up or something, and this was like around the league. So
yeah.
I think actually, speaking of Jackson Holiday, I think he was in like some gown of some kind, ready for bed, like a nightgown. So
I said that without even knowing. That's hilarious.
Yeah, really, it could be past his bedtime. But folks, let us know what you think about everything that we talked about down below. Very possible that we could be going live for some of the postseason games on this channel, on this platform. So stay tuned for that, guys. Maybe some of the key marquee matchups throughout the postseason, throughout the wild card, all that. We should be trying to go live for and watch along with you folks. So hit that like, smash the subscribe button. We appreciate every single one of you, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.